Welcome back to Audit Spotlight, the channel where we break down official findings from the Office of Inspector General. No commentary, no speculation, just the facts. Today we dive into a March 31st, 2025, report by the Department of Health and Human Services Office of Inspector General, titled, "Most institutions that received NIH funding did not fully understand when they must report monetary donations." This report reveals critical gaps in how institutions that receive funding from the National Institutes of Health, or NIH, interpret and comply with federal rules surrounding monetary donation reporting. Specifically, what constitutes other support. The NIH is the primary federal agency responsible for biomedical and public health research. In fiscal year 2023, NIH awarded over 60,000 competitive grants to support more than 300,000 researchers across more than 2,500 institutions nationwide. These awards are essential for advancing scientific knowledge and innovation. However, with such a large distribution of federal funds, accountability and transparency become critical. To assess compliance with NIH policies, the OIG conducted a survey of 886 institutions that had received NIH funding. This sample forms the basis of the findings in the report and represents a significant cross-section of the NIH-funded research community. The core issue? Most institutions failed to correctly identify when monetary donations must be reported as other support. Here are the numbers. Only 19% of institutions correctly identified all scenarios where monetary donations must be reported as other support. A troubling 25% of institutions failed to correctly identify any such scenarios. Over 40% managed to get just one scenario right. These numbers indicate widespread confusion about NIH's expectations for disclosure. The consequences of underreporting monetary donations can be serious, as they may affect grant compliance, transparency in funding sources, and federal oversight. So what exactly is other support? According to NIH policy, other support refers to all resources made available to a researcher in support of and/or related to all of their research efforts, regardless of whether those resources are provided through the NIH or other funding sources. This includes grants, cooperative agreements, contracts, in-kind contributions, and monetary donations. Crucially, monetary donations that support a specific researcher's work must be disclosed, even if the funds are given to the institution and not directly to the researcher. However, the OIG found that many institutions believed that only large donations had to be reported, only donations made directly to the researcher counted, and general institutional gifts were automatically exempt from reporting. These assumptions run contrary to NIH guidelines. To help clarify the issue, the report included examples illustrating the difference between reportable other support and non-reportable gifts. An example of reportable other support is, a donor gives $20,000 to a university specifically to support Dr. Smith's research on gene therapy. Even though the money goes to the university, the intent is to support a specific researcher's project. This must be reported as other support. An example of a non-reportable gift is, a donor gives an unrestricted $50,000 gift to the university with no specified use. The university independently decides to apply part of it toward lab renovations used by multiple departments. This is considered a general gift and does not require reporting as other support. These distinctions are important, yet the survey revealed that most institutions lacked clarity on how to apply them. One of the more surprising findings in the report was that institutions receiving the most NIH funding actually demonstrated the least understanding of reporting obligations. These are institutions that routinely manage large federal grants and are expected to have strong compliance departments. Yet their responses to the survey indicated significant gaps in understanding. According to the report, institutions receiving the highest levels of NIH funding were less likely than others to correctly identify the scenarios that required reporting of monetary donations as other support. This suggests that size and experience alone do not guarantee proper compliance with NIH policies. The OIG survey also gathered qualitative feedback from the participating institutions. Approximately 75% of them said that NIH should provide clearer distinctions between what constitutes a reportable monetary donation and a non-reportable gift. Many institutions noted that the existing guidance is vague or overly technical, making it difficult for grant administrators to determine what must be disclosed. Some also expressed concerns that the fear of making reporting errors could lead to over-reporting, potentially bogging down administrative processes. Based on these findings, the OIG issued a single but important recommendation. NIH should provide clearer guidance to funded institutions on which monetary donations must be reported as other support. The NIH agreed with the recommendation and indicated that it would take steps to improve the clarity of its guidance. This could involve updated policy documents, enhanced training for institutions, and possibly a public FAQ or decision tree to help administrators navigate reporting requirements. While the timeline for these updates was not specified, the acknowledgement from NIH marks a step toward improving compliance. Accurate reporting of funding sources is not just a bureaucratic formality. It serves several essential functions. Transparency. It ensures that NIH and the public are aware of all sources of support for federally funded research. Conflict of interest management. It helps identify potential conflicts of interest that may affect the integrity of scientific findings. Compliance and oversight. It allows NIH to monitor whether its funds are being used appropriately and in compliance with federal laws. Inconsistent or incomplete reporting undermines all three objectives and could lead to sanctions, grant revocations, or loss of funding. This report is a reminder that compliance depends not only on policy, but also on clear communication and shared understanding between funding agencies and recipients. With over 2,500 institutions receiving NIH funds and nearly 900 surveyed in this evaluation alone, it's clear that the issue is both widespread and systemic. Hopefully, with improved guidance from NIH, institutions will gain a better understanding of their obligations, reducing the risk of underreporting and strengthening the integrity of U.S.-funded scientific research. That concludes today's Audit Spotlight. This episode was based entirely on the March 31st, 2025 report by the Department of Health and Human Services Office of Inspector General. Link to the report in the description below. If you found this information useful, stay tuned for more summaries of oversight reports that affect public trust, government funding, and accountability. Until next time, stay informed.